I think Ayrton got in the car because that's who he was.
The arrival of Ayrton Senna. Oh my goodness!
Give him a racing car, he's going to go and try and win a race. Without that, we would never have heard of him. He wouldn't have been Ayrton Senna. The whole weekend was a complete and utter horror story.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, shocking.
But what took my breath away was understanding that after it died, the race continued. But I'm interested in what was going on in your mind.
My mind was, I hope they find out what it was, you know, but I'll do what I'm asked to do. You know, I was asked to drive the car and I didn't back out of it. You know, I had the option. I could have said, well, wait, what's going on here? Why did he go off? And so forth. You don't do that as a racing driver. You're in race mode and you just default to race restarts in 10 minutes or whatever. And you go, okay, crack on, you know.
When did you know that the accident was more serious than just another accident?
I knew on the grid, but I didn't know that. Anne Bradshaw, who was the Williams PR woman, she said, Ayrton's gone off. And I said, well, how is he? And she said, well, it's not good. You know, it's quite serious. So I didn't know he died until the end of the race. I was in the medical centre because I had to drive without power steering because they weren't sure what had gone wrong, so they turned off the power steering. So I'm dehydrated and everything, and I'm in the medical, and Dickie Stanford came and said, you know, that Ayrton had died. And that's the first time I heard of it.
And what about your own personal fear? Because if they're coming to you saying, we're going to turn off the power steering, that naturally leads a driver to think, well, is there an issue with the car here? What's going on? Then they're asking you to go out
on
and
that.
race.
You know, I trusted the team. What else can I do? I can't keep going to the team and going, oh, are you sure you've done that? Have you done that? Or have you tightened that bolt? You can't go racing like that. You trust the team completely. And you also accept that people are fallible. Sometimes things will go wrong. And you crash their car sometimes, you know, because you made a mistake. So you're in a team and you go, you're doing your best and I trust you're doing your best and we'll go racing like that.
What did you do to put that weekend to bed?
Up until they died, both Roland and Ayrton loved racing. They loved doing it. And that's why they were there. And that if you didn't understand the risks before, then you were, you shouldn't really be doing it, you know. There was no starker example of the risks happening. I mean, don't forget, Ayrton got in the car after Roland had his fatal accident. He decided, I am going to race. And so if we all walked away, then we would be not true to ourselves.
You went back into the car. You started picking up some great race wins. And there's one clip when Michael wasn't happy with a race result. You came walking up the stairs, I think at Silverstone. He banged the front of your cap. Remember that?
Yeah.
And you didn't react. You didn't turn back at him. No. You didn't rise up at him.
It was embarrassing, wasn't it? I mean, he was trying to buddy up with me. It's now that I'm the winner or whatever. I don't know. You know, because I'd endured a lot of his comments, you know, that were not so flattering about me. And I thought, okay, why would I? Anyway, the games people play when they're competing.
What did you think of the games that Michael played?
I think he was what he was. You know, he was a competitor. He was someone who was able to put pressure on every little part of your life. He'd do stuff like in the press conference, I'd won a race or I'd be in pole position or I can't remember what it was. And they come to me and when they're doing that, he'd start up a conversation with Jack or someone like that. So he's chatting away while you're talking. So you'd kind of go, I wasn't talking when you were being interviewed. He was quite adept at dismissing you to the press, and I like a fool rose to the bait.
Here's the truth: your body is like an engine, and you need to keep it at its best day in, day out. I mean, think of it this way: you wouldn't fuel a racing car on cheap fuel. So why are you doing similar to your body? I take Heights Vitals. I take them every single day. They stop me feeling run down, sluggish. I used to have brain fog. Not anymore. 2 small capsules. These act as my premium grade fuel. I'm keeping with the racing metaphor. So Vitals are a blend of vitamins, nutrients, minerals, omega-3, all the Bs, basically everything you need to perform at your best. So if you're looking for something that keeps you in the driving seat with your nutrition, your brain and body health, then this is it. Taken by athletes, Olympians, and even some well-known racing drivers. This stuff works. So if you're looking to fuel right this year, go to heights.com/Jake or enter the code HP20 at checkout for 20% off your first order and start your journey today. Had Michael's mind games in 95 kind of won, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, I fell for it. You know, I got suckered in. I think I went into 95 thinking, right, this is going to be fun. I'm going to be, fighting Michael. And I didn't understand the sophistication that you needed to have to fight for a world title from the beginning. I was never expecting to fight for the world title in 94, but 95 I kind of was expecting to be in a contender. And so I think I just overreached myself a few times. But of course, I will say this, if it wasn't for Michael, I would never have found out to what height I could go as a racing driver. You know, I had to extend myself beyond what I was capable of, and I won. And there's a picture of him congratulating me after Suzuka. You know, he didn't do that very often, and I think he knew that I'd put up a good performance, and so that's also magnanimous of him. You know, so the rivalry gave me an opportunity. He's a 7-time world champion. He'd never won a world championship till then. I was getting so much grief for being beaten by him, but eventually, I won against him in races, fair and square, and eventually I won a world title. Admittedly, he was in an uncompetitive car at the time, but I fought against some of the greatest names. I can measure up against Alan Prost or Ayrton didn't give me a chance, unfortunately. I was not as quick as him, but I'd love to have known how much closer I could have got and raced against Michael and Nigel, and I didn't do too bad, you know.
Hey, just quickly, if you enjoyed this awesome chat with Formula One legend Damon Hill, I loved it. You can check out the release of his brand new film coming to Sky and streaming service now in July. It's called Hill, and it's the unique family story set against the backdrop of the fastest sport in the world with never-before-seen footage. Remember, you can also subscribe to our channel to make sure you get the latest conversations with the leading names in sport and Formula One, and there's so much to explore. We've spoken to Toto Wolff, Christian Horner, Claire Williams, Fernando Alonso, Lando Norris, George Russell, Alex Albon, and so many more. Hit subscribe right now and don't miss out on what I believe are the best Formula One conversations out there.